The celestial spire of Astrian Prime rose like a tower sculpted from frozen starlight. It shimmered above the lush world below, its crystal structure glowing softly with the energy of thousands of diplomatic minds inside. For 12,000 cycles, the Galactic Council had gathered here to settle disputes, negotiate alliances, and maintain a fragile peace across the known galaxy. It had seen wars, treaties, triumphs, and tragedies, but tonight, a deeper unease filled its halls. The Council's main chamber, a grand circular hall with floating star globes and shifting holographic maps, buzzed with tension. Delegates of every known species sat around the spiraling platform, their forms illuminated by the quiet glow of drifting lights. Some delegates perched on crystalline chairs. Others floated using graph fields. And some, like the towering stone-skinned giants or the shadow-bodied Vasharay, simply stood, their presence heavy. And at the center of it all stood Ambassador Lyra Voss, humanity's representative. Humans had joined the Council barely 80 Earth years ago. To most species they were still the young ones, full of energy but lacking long-lasting wisdom. Yet over the past decade, humans had developed a reputation for sensing trouble long before it surfaced. Adaptability, instinct, and stubborn bravery made them unpredictable, but effective. Tonight, Lyra felt that instinct louder than ever. A shimmering crystalline being floated to the forefront. High Chancellor Voraktun, an ancient figure whose shimmering torso refracted every color of the spectrum, addressed the room. Members of the Galactic Council, Voraktun began, their multitonal voice echoing like ringing glass. Our border outposts have reported concerning signals. Energy surges, vanishing colonies, and the revival of an empire long believed dormant, the Zephyrian Dominion. A wave of murmurs rolled through the assembly. The Dominion, a militaristic regime that had once tried to dominate the outer star system centuries ago. Their sudden return alone could threaten the Council's fragile peace. But Lyra felt something deeper was brewing. Voraktun projected a hologram into the air, blurred footage of ships moving inside a dark nebula, surrounded by faint spirals of unknown symbols. These are the most recent images gathered before contact with the scout vessel was lost, explained the Chancellor. Delegate Thrixon Vol, a spindly Varnelian with 6 bright silver eyes, hissed nervously. Those symbols, they are not Zephyrian. They belong to no recorded species. A thick-bodied Rel warrior pounded the table. Perhaps the Dominion has found new allies. Lyra spoke at last. Her voice was calm, but it carried a sharp edge of concern. The beyond isn't empty, she said. We have been mapping only a fraction of the galaxy. Something's happening out there, something organized. Many heads turned toward her. Some with interest, others with skepticism. A reptilian diplomat named Sarek Norval muttered loudly enough for all to hear, "Human imagination runs wild again. We should not leap to conclusions based on speculation and fear." Lyra met his gaze without flinching. This isn't imagination. It's pattern and intention. Worlds don't vanish without traces. Fleets don't cloak themselves in unknown signatures unless they want to avoid attention. A small wave of agreement rippled across the hall. Even Lyra's critics grew uneasy as the hologram showed expanding Dominion fleet routes, new territories occupied beyond the rim, and strange pulse signatures never documented before. Voraktun raised a hand, silencing the crowd. Our analysts believe multiple species, unknown to the Council, may be forming alliances with the Dominion. The implications could be catastrophic. Lyra stepped forward, jaw tight. If these alliances are real, then the Council must act. We need scouts, researchers, and diplomats out there, now. Before this becomes a threat we cannot contain. Several species scoffed. The insectoid Yaskarii representative clicked her mandibles in amusement. Humans are always eager to run boldly into the storm. Lyra smiled faintly. Sometimes storms reveal things calm skies never will. A few delegates nodded at her words. Voraktun continued, "We propose launching a joint investigation beyond the rim. The mission will gather intelligence, identify new species, and confirm the status of the Dominion." The room erupted, some cheering the idea, others fiercely opposing it. Fear battled with pride. Hope battled with denial. A serpentine delegate coiled around herself. Sending a mission is too dangerous. We cannot risk our representatives. A crystalline elder replied, and doing nothing is far worse. Ignorance is the greatest danger. Lyra stood tall, her dark blue uniform reflecting the star globes floating around her. "I volunteer for the mission," she declared without hesitation. The room fell silent. "Of course you do," grumbled Sarek Norval. But Vorik lowered their shimmering head. Ambassador Lyra Voss, you understand the risks? The beyond is uncharted. The Dominion is rising. Unknown forces may be waiting. Lyra nodded. Yes. And that's exactly why we must go. If we wait for danger to come to us, we lose the chance to understand it, or stop it. Her conviction filled the chamber. Delegates who normally ignored humanity exchanged thoughtful looks. Even the skeptical ones knew she had a point. At last, the Chancellor struck the glowing central sphere, signaling a final decision. By majority vote, the mission is approved. Lyra exhaled slowly. The expedition would be dangerous, possibly fatal, but necessary. Yet as she gathered her datapads and prepared to exit the hall, something felt wrong. A sharp chill brushed the back of her neck. She turned slightly, sensing a presence watching her. From the shadows of the chamber, a tall, hooded figure slipped quietly away. She couldn't recognize its species. Its face remained hidden behind a smooth, dark mask that reflected no light. But she was certain of one thing. It was listening. Knew. And it didn't want the council to reach the beyond. Lyra pushed through the crowd, mind racing. If unknown alliances were forming, then someone, somewhere, was already steps ahead of them. The Dominion wasn't just rising. It was preparing. Planning. Expanding. The council only felt the tremors. But the quake was coming. Beyond the rim, something immense stirred. Something old, something strategic, something powerful enough to make the galaxy nervous for the first time in centuries. And Lyra Voss, the underestimated human, had just taken her first step into the heart of it. The whisper from the beyond had begun. The galaxy didn't yet understand its meaning. But soon it would. The whisper from the beyond had grown into a quiet roar in Lyra Voss's mind. Even as the council dispersed into smaller debates and side arguments, she remained focused, reviewing the newly approved mission orders on her datapad. The joint investigation would be dangerous, unpredictable, and politically sensitive. Every species would want eyes and ears present. Every faction would try to influence the results. But Lyra welcomed the challenge. Humans had always thrived in the unknown. When she stepped out of the Celestial Spire's Grand Hall, she found Commander Ralek Jur waiting for her in the corridor. His scaled armor-like skin shimmered under the spire's floating lanterns. As a Vorthan warrior renowned for tactical brilliance, his presence meant one thing. This mission was already attracting attention. You were bold, Ralek said, his deep voice echoing off the crystalline walls. Volunteering before knowing the details. Lyra smirked. The details don't change the truth. Someone needed to step forward. He lowered his head in a gesture of respect. And of course, a human did. Lyra raised an eyebrow. Is that admiration or a warning? Both, Ralek replied. Our enemies are not simple. The Dominion expands with purpose. And these unknown alliances, his yellow eyes narrowed. No one forms a coalition without a goal. A shiver passed through Lyra. She remembered the hooded figure watching her earlier, the strange stillness in its posture. Someone inside the council, or someone connected, did not want this mission to proceed. Then we find their goal, Lyra said firmly, before it reaches us. 2 days later, the investigation team gathered at Astrian Prime's orbital docks. Massive hangars surrounded the planet like rings of industrial moons. Ships of every shape and color drifted beneath transparent shields. And among them awaited the Council's newest exploration vessel, the Distant Veil. She was unlike older starships, sleek, blade-shaped, forged from silver nanosteel, and glowing faintly with blue quantum lines that pulsed like veins. Her design combined technologies from 6 different species. But her heart, her navigation core, was human-built. Lyra exhaled in awe as she approached. Beautiful, she whispered. A soft laugh echoed behind her. Saren Valis, the Lemurian empath assigned to the mission, drifted gracefully toward her. Her shimmering pale skin gave off a gentle light, and her eyes glowed like captured stars. You feel it too, Saren said. The energy around this vessel. Excitement and fear. Lyra nodded. We're crossing into places no one understands. That always comes with fear. Saren tilted her head. Not just that. I sensed something unusual during the council session. A presence hiding in the shadows. Watching you. Lyra felt a cold weight settle inside her chest. I wasn't imagining it then. No, Saren murmured, voice quiet. Someone knows what waits beyond the rim, and they do not want us to find it. Before Lyra could respond, Ralek approached with heavy steps. The team is assembled. We depart in 1 hour. The distant Vale's interior was a fusion of alien and human architecture. Smooth curved corridors, living light panels, and a central command deck shaped like a circular amphitheater. At its center hovered the ship's AI module, a floating prism of shifting colors. Designation? Lyra asked. A warm voice responded. I am Horizon, Operational Intelligence of the Distant Vale. Welcome aboard, Ambassador Voss. Glad to have you with us, Horizon. I am programmed to ensure survival, the AI replied calmly. This mission will undoubtedly test that programming. Lyra smiled. I expected nothing less. The bridge filled with crew from multiple species. Yaskarii technicians scuttled across consoles. Rel warriors took positions near security stations. Human engineers checked every system with sharp precision. And in the center, Commander Ralek stood ready. Crew prepared, Ralek announced. Course set for the outer rim border. Lyra took her seat on the central platform. Begin departure protocol. The air hummed. The ship vibrated. Thrusters ignited. And the distant Vale rose from the docks like a silver arrow aimed into the unknown. Hours passed in smooth flight until the vessel pierced the final edge of Council-controlled space. Stars grew sharper and brighter. Regions of the map became marked with red indicators. Uncharted, unmonitored, potentially hostile. The beyond. Lyra leaned over the railing, watching the vastness unfold before them. Saren approached softly. Do you hear it? Lyra glanced at her. Hear what? The whisper, Saren said, her voice distant. The beyond is not empty. It's aware. Lyra didn't respond, but she felt it too. A tension in the fabric of space. A quiet pull. As if something, or someone, waited ahead. Suddenly, alarms blared. Horizon's voice sharpened. Unidentified distress signal detected. Triangulating. Source located at the abandoned research outpost Riven 4. Lyra shot to her feet. I thought Riven 4 went silent months ago. It did, Ralek growled. The Dominion claimed it was destroyed by solar flares. Saren shook her head violently. No, that's not true. I sense fear. Panic. Lyra pointed forward. Set course. Maximum speed. The stars streaked. The distant Vale vaulted through warped light. Minutes later they dropped out of FTL, and gasps filled the bridge. The outpost was a ruin. Burning debris drifted among shattered rings. The outer hull was melted in strange patterns, symbols carved with eerie precision. Dead silence filled the void. A Yaskarii technician whispered, This is not Zephyrian work. Agreed, Ralek said darkly. This is surgical. Intentional. Lyra's eyes widened. A message. They boarded the outpost cautiously, moving through floating wreckage and half-melted corridors. No survivors. No data logs. Everything important was stripped clean. Saren pressed a trembling hand to a wall. I feel echoes. They were studying something new. Something from the beyond. Lyra studied the melted patterns closer. Spirals intersected with sharp lines, forming symbols she didn't recognize. What language is this? She asked quietly. No known language, Ralek said. But the meaning is clear. We're being warned. A sudden vibration shook the outpost. Lyra spun. Horizon report. The AI's voice crackled through their comms. Ambassador, multiple heat signatures detected inside the dust cloud behind the outpost. Unknown vessels. Cloaked. Ralek hissed. We're not alone. Lyra felt the whisper again, louder, colder. More was happening out here than anyone knew. And something in the dust cloud was watching them. The dust cloud drifted like a silent storm behind the ruined outpost, its swirling gray-blue vapors lit only by distant starlight. The distant Vale hovered nearby, its hull glowing softly as it scanned the void for threats. But inside the floating research station, Lyra Voss felt another kind of tension, one that pressed against her mind like an unseen hand. Horizon, Lyra said through her comm, forcing her voice steady, confirm the heat signatures. The AI responded instantly. 6 signatures. No known configuration. Cloak fields active. They are observing. A chill rippled through the team. Ralek tightened his grip on his weapon. We need to return to the ship. Now. Lyra didn't argue. Everyone fall back. They moved quickly through the broken corridors, passing melted supports and drifting equipment. As they neared the airlock, Saren Vallis suddenly stopped, frozen, eyes wide. I can feel them, she whispered. They're not just watching. They're studying us. Move. Ralek barked. He grabbed Saren, pulling her toward the airlock as the team hurried inside. The hatch sealed behind them just as a deep, vibrating hum rolled through the structure. Lyra's skin prickled. "What was that?" one of the Rel soldiers muttered. Horizon's voice cut in sharply. "Unknown vessels are changing formation. One is approaching your position." Lyra didn't need further encouragement. "Launch us off this wreck." The distant Veil's docking clamps disengaged, and the ship pulled them free just as something massive drifted out of the dust cloud. The crew stared through the viewing dome in stunned silence. A colossal vessel emerged, obsidian black and veined with glowing blue patterns that pulsed like a heartbeat. The ship had no visible thrusters, no standard weapons, no windows. It looked like an artifact carved from a single impossible material. Saren's voice trembled. "That is not Zephyrian." "No," Lyra whispered. "It's something older." The vessel glided toward them with predatory grace. Ralek stepped forward, his spines rising. "Weapons." Lyra hesitated. Firing now could mean suicide, or starting a war far earlier than they were prepared for. Before she could decide, the ship broadcast a signal without request. A shimmering projection filled the bridge, tall, armored, humanoid but impossibly alien. Its form shifted like liquid metal shaped by starlight. Its voice echoed with layered tones as if dozens spoke at once. "I am Sirixan, envoy of the Eclipse Convergence." The name washed over the crew like a cold wave. Lyra stood her ground. "I am Ambassador Lyra Voss of the Galactic Council. You're entering Council territory." Sirixan cut her off. "Territory? Boundaries? Meaningless constructs of young civilizations." The alien tilted its head slightly, studying each of them as though reading their minds. "You search for answers beyond your fragile rim," the envoy continued. "But answers are coming to you regardless." Ralek growled low. "State your purpose." Sirixan gestured, and behind it appeared a hologram of the Zephyrian Dominion crest, intertwined with unfamiliar symbols. "The Dominion has joined the Eclipse Convergence. Other species will soon follow." Lyra's heart pounded. "What? What are you planning?" "Refinement," Sirixan said softly. "The galaxy has grown stagnant. Weak. Unchallenged. We will reclaim its potential." Saren covered her ears, shaking. "Your minds? They're like storms. Too many voices." Sirixan's eyes glowed brighter. "Your empathic one is sensitive. Useful. Perhaps she will understand the future better than the Council will." Lyra stepped protectively in front of Saren. "What future?" she demanded. "The inevitable one," the envoy replied. "When the eclipse gate opens, the purification begins." Another symbol flashed, spirals intersecting jagged lines, the same ones carved across the ruined outpost. A message. A warning. A countdown. "We advise you to retreat to your inner systems," Sirixan said. "Prepare your worlds for restructuring." Lyra glared at him. "We do not take commands from invaders." The alien tilted its head again, almost curious. "Invaders? No. We are architects." Its form flickered. The projection collapsed into a sphere of light, then vanished. The obsidian vessel dissolved into a shimmering tear in space, leaving behind a rippling distortion. Then it was gone. Silence filled the bridge until Ralek spoke a single word. "War." The distant Veil retreated from the ruined outpost at full speed. Lyra stood at the command platform, mind racing. Unknown species forming alliances. Zephyrians joining them. Mysterious technology. Psychic storms hidden behind cold voices. Everything pointed to one truth: this was far more than a Dominion resurgence. "Lyra," Saren said quietly, "I saw something when the envoy spoke." "By gate." A giant rift in space. And ships, thousands. Their minds were unified. Like one. Lyra swallowed. "A hive." "No, not a hive. A purpose shared willingly." Ralek folded his arms. "That makes them more dangerous." Lyra knew he was right. A forced army cracked under pressure. A united one did not. She took a breath. "We need to return to the Council. They must hear everything." Horizon's lights dimmed slightly. "Ambassador?" "I detect a new signal coming from the direction of the Convergence ship's departure." Lyra turned. "Another ship?" "No," Horizon answered. "A probe. It's scanning us." Before Lyra could react, the ship jolted violently. A burst of light hit their shields and the crew stumbled. "Shields holding at 73%, Horizon reported. Ralek hissed. "The Convergence marked us. They are tracking our path." Lyra steadied herself. "Then we don't give them an easy trail." Evasive pattern delta, she ordered. The distant veil spun sharply, diving into a narrow stretch of star-dense field. Bursts of blue light flashed behind them as the probe fired. But Horizon's piloting and the ship's quantum-reactive hull allowed them to slip through hazards with impossible precision. Finally, the probe faded from pursuit. Lyra exhaled. Set course for Astrian Prime. Yes, Ambassador. As the ship prepared for faster-than-light travel, Lyra looked at the crew. Human, Vorthan, Lemurian, Yaskarii, Rel, all staring at her with a mixture of fear and trust. She realized something then. Whatever this eclipse convergence was, whatever refinement they planned, humanity would not let the galaxy fall quietly. Hold on, Lyra murmured. The stars stretched. The distant veil leapt into the void. Toward the Council. Toward truth. Toward the first sparks of a galactic war. The distant veil burst out of faster-than-light travel like a comet returning home, its hull still shimmering from the strain of evasive maneuvers. Astrian Prime floated ahead, a brilliant world of green oceans and spiraling crystalline cities, its orbital rings glowing beneath the twin suns. But for the crew inside, the sight wasn't comforting. It only reminded them of what awaited. A divided council. As the ship approached the docking platforms, Lyra Voss stood quietly near the viewing dome. Her hands tightened behind her back. The weight of what she'd witnessed, Sirixon, the eclipse convergence, the ruined outpost, pressed heavily on her shoulders. A threat like this demanded unity. But lately unity was the one thing the Galactic Council lacked. Ralek came beside her. Your people have a saying? He rumbled. Bad news travels fast. Lyra exhaled. Yes. And what we bring isn't just bad news, Ralek. It's a warning of extinction-level proportions. Saren approached from behind. Her pale skin glowed faintly, but her expression was tired. The Council won't believe easily. The convergence purposely projected confidence. They want us divided. Lyra nodded grimly. And with the Zephyrian Dominion backing them, fear will do half their work for them. The ship docked with a soft metallic thrum. The crew moved out into the bustling station corridors, engineers, diplomats, soldiers from countless species crossing paths in controlled chaos. But Lyra felt eyes following her. Whispers rising. Word had already spread. The Council emergency session had been summoned. Inside the celestial spire, tension crackled in the air like charged dust. Delegates filled the chamber, their holographic displays and translation panels flickering as they argued loudly even before the meeting officially began. The moment Lyra entered, dozens of them turned. Some with hope. Others with accusation. Chancellor Voraktun struck the central crystal sphere, and silencing vibrations rippled through the hall. This emergency session will now begin. Ambassador Lyra Voss, Commander Ralek Jur, and Lemurian empath Saren Valis stepped forward. The three walked to the central platform. Star globes hovered around them, illuminating their faces. Voraktun's light dimmed. We are told you have encountered something unprecedented beyond the rim. Lyra stepped forward. Not something. Someone. An alliance, calling itself the Eclipse Convergence. Instant uproar. The Rel delegate slammed a fist into the table. More conspiracies. A feathered Calorian ambassador hissed, we barely contain the Dominion. Now you claim another threat. A Yaskarii elder clicked angrily. Humans dramatize everything to seem relevant. Lyra's voice cut clean through the noise. We saw their envoy. Silence. Every eye fixed on her. Ralek projected the recording. The massive obsidian ship, the flickering tear in space, and the imposing figure of Sirixon speaking with layered voices. Delegates gasped. Some recoiled. Some leaned forward in fascination. One thing they could not do anymore was deny. Voraktun trembled slightly. What technology is this? Lyra stepped closer to the center. Something far beyond our current understanding. Their ships aren't constructed, they're grown. Their cloaking is flawless. Their energy signatures break known physics. Saren closed her eyes, voice soft but haunted. And their minds, unified. Purposeful. They believe the galaxy must be refined. The chamber erupted again. Refined. Destroyed. Subjugated? Impossible. A Zethorian delegate, whose body resembled molten amber, spoke with shaking tones. If the Dominion aligns with them, our border systems are undefended. Lyra raised her hands. This is not the time to fight each other. We need. Sarek Norval, the Serpentine delegate who always opposed her, rose sharply. We need proof that this isn't a human exaggeration. Ralek snarled, his spines rising. We fought their probe. Our shields nearly collapsed. Saren stepped forward, eyes glowing. And I felt thousands of minds behind that envoy's presence. This is real. Some delegates nodded. Others still resisted. Lyra knew what she had to do. She lifted her chin. We are outmatched, outnumbered, possibly outmaneuvered, but not defeated. She let the words settle. This council was formed to prevent galaxy-wide collapse. But look at you, fighting, doubting, denying. While the enemy builds strength. Several species lowered their eyes. Lyra's voice hardened. We must unite our fleets, share intelligence, and prepare defenses. We must send envoys to our outer allies. And above all, we must stand together or we fall separately. Voraktun's lights flickered in deep thought. Finally, the Chancellor struck the crystal sphere again. Vote. Now. The chamber illuminated with voting lights. One by one, species chose. Red for reject. Blue for accept. Lyra's heart pounded as colors filled the spiraling chamber. In the beginning it seemed hopeless. Many lights flashed red. But then, slowly, blue began to spread. The Zethorians, the Calorians, the Rel, the Lemurians, and even after a tense pause, the Varnelians led by Thrixon Volume. Lyra watched, breath held as the final lights activated. The result was projected above. Accepted, 62% majority. The council would unite. Relief washed over her. But it lasted only a moment. Voraktun's voice turned solemn. The council acknowledges the threat of the eclipse convergence and authorizes the formation of a united defense fleet. Gasps echoed. And, Vorak continued, Ambassador Lyra Voss of Earth will lead the Strategic Response Committee. Lyra froze. Ralek looked shocked. Saren gasped. Lyra, they chose you. Many delegates glared, some jealous, some fearful, some furious that a human was chosen. But the decision was final. Lyra stepped forward, composed yet shaken. I accept, she said softly. You will guide our preparation, Voraktun continued. We have little time before the convergence makes its next move. Lyra bowed her head. Then we begin now. But before the council dispersed, something unexpected happened. A sudden tremor rippled through the chamber. Lights dimmed. The holograms flickered. A distorted frequency broke through every communication channel. Horizon's voice crackled from Lyra's earpiece. Ambassador, a large-scale energy surge has been detected outside council borders. Lyra felt her pulse spike. From where? From a location matching the signature left by Sirixon. Saren whispered, horrified, the gate? Voraktun's lights darkened in fear. What is happening? Lyra answered grimly. The eclipse convergence is making its next move. The council was united at last. But they were already behind. The Aurora Spear raced through deep space corridors, its engines humming with strained energy. Captain Saris stood on the bridge, eyes fixed on the holographic display of the council's capital system. The rift, the dark structure at the rim, and the Empire's movements weighed heavily on her mind. The visions she had received haunted every thought. Every decision felt like a knife-edge balancing between survival and annihilation. We should have backup, Commander Vega said, his voice tense. Even if we warn the council, they won't mobilize in time. The Empire is already moving. Saris turned toward him, eyes blazing. Then we make the move. Humanity can't wait for permission. We'll lead the effort ourselves if we have to. Lyra Voss, standing beside the navigation console, nodded slowly. They need proof. Something tangible. The rift, the structure. We can't just describe it. We need to show them what's coming. Morrow's voice cracked slightly. Do you really think they'll listen? The council is divided, scared. And the Empire has influence everywhere. Saris's gaze hardened. They will listen because we have no choice. If we fail to unite the galaxy, everything dies. And if the council won't act, then humanity will take the first step. Arrival at the council. The Aurora Spear dropped out of hyperspace near the council capital. Orbital rings glimmered around the planet, and massive ships floated in waiting, representing every major species in the council. But despite the impressive display of fleets, the air felt tense, uneasy. Whispers of doubt and skepticism had already reached the capital. Saris's comms buzzed. All ships, hold positions. Council delegates will meet us on the central platform. The bridge went silent as the doors to the platform opened. Saris, Lyra, and Morrow stepped out, greeted by an anxious and crowded chamber. Delegates of crystalline, serpentine, avian, and gaseous forms filled the space. Murmurs rippled through the hall like waves across water. High Chancellor Varela, her silver-hued form glimmering in the light, stepped forward. Captain Saris. You come bearing urgent news. Saris bowed slightly. Chancellor Varela. I bring proof that the Empire is seeking something older than any known civilization, a power buried beyond the rim. Something they do not yet understand. A murmur passed through the delegates. Several hissed or clicked in disbelief. Lyra stepped forward. We encountered the rift, a structure older than the Archeans. It attempted to communicate. It shows humanity. And the Empire, they are moving toward it. An avian delegate hissed. You claim this rift can communicate? You speak of legend and myth. Saris cut her off sharply. No, I'm speaking of reality. If the Council does not act, the Empire will control the oldest force in existence. Entire galaxies could fall under its shadow. Ria Solis's voice projected over the chamber speakers. We have energy readings, visual evidence, and a transmission from the rift itself. We can prove it. The holographic display flickered, showing the dark structure, its pulsing fractures, and the spectral visions Saris had experienced. The Council delegates leaned forward, some horrified, others skeptical, but no one could deny the raw power. The vote for the Vanguard. High Chancellor Varela's voice resonated across the chamber. The threat you describe is unlike any we have faced. And yet, we have no fleet capable of responding at this scale. Saris's eyes scanned the room. Then we form one. A united defense fleet. And we lead it. Ryland's voice spoke over the comms, hesitant but determined. Humanity has experience facing the impossible. We will stand at the forefront. Others will follow if we show them the way. A silence followed. Delegates murmured among themselves, clearly torn. But the sight of the Aurora spear, the proof of the rift, and the weight of Saris's presence swayed opinion. High Chancellor Varela raised her hands. A vote will now determine whether a united human-led vanguard is authorized to engage the Empire and investigate the rift directly. The voting procedure activated holographic lights above each delegate. Blue for approval. Red for rejection. At first, red dominated. The older species hesitated. Doubt clung like a shadow. But as the holograms counted, blue began spreading. Crystalline delegates, then the avian. Serpentine. Finally, even the hesitant gaseous and Zethorian representatives. Blue overtook red. Majority reached 68%. The council erupted in murmurs and shouts, some cheering, some fearful. High Chancellor Varela nodded gravely. The human vanguard is approved. Captain Saris will lead its formation. Saris stepped forward, shoulders straight, eyes blazing. We will not fail. The vanguard assembles. Within hours, ships began gathering in orbit. Human vessels, the first mobilization of the human vanguard, stood side by side with Lemurian frigates, Calorian cruisers, and Vorthan scouts. Each ship bristled with weapons, shields, and sensor arrays. Saris walked the deck of the Aurora Spear, watching the fleet grow. Lyra Voss accompanied her, analyzing reports, sensor readings, and data from the rift. This is bigger than we imagined, Lyra said quietly. If the Empire reaches the rift first. Saris shook her head. They won't. Not while we stand. Rylan appeared, carrying a stack of schematics. We've integrated new pulse shield technology. It's experimental, but it can help protect against dimensional interference, like what the rift emitted. Saris nodded. Good. Prepare it immediately. Every ship in the Vanguard will need it. Morrow added quietly, Captain, the crew looks to you. They've seen the impossible, and yet they follow. Saris's gaze swept across the assembly. They follow because humans do not cower. We fight. Others will follow our example. And together, we might just survive. The first move. The Aurora Spear launched first, cutting through hyperspace toward the rim. The human vanguard followed in formation, a spear of light and steel aimed at the edge of the galaxy. Lyra monitored the rift's energy signature. It's growing stronger, she reported. And there are new points forming along the rim. Saris clenched her jaw. Then we hit them first. Strike before the Empire can consolidate control. Rylan's voice trembled slightly. And the rift? Do we try to communicate again? Saris turned toward the view screen, eyes fixed on the rim's stormy border. We try. And if it answers, we listen. Humanity has a voice now, and we will be heard. The stars streaked past as the Vanguard accelerated, engines blazing. The dark storm of the rim loomed ahead, whispering secrets older than time itself. Saris's voice carried across the bridge, calm but resolute. Prepare the fleet. Humanity rises. The galaxy will follow. And together, we will face what comes from beyond the rim. The crew braced themselves. They were about to face the unknown. And this time humanity would not stand alone. The human vanguard surged through hyperspace, a spear of ships cutting toward the rim's violent storm border. The Aurora Spear led the formation, its sleek hull glinting with reinforced pulse shields, experimental weapon arrays, and new subspace sensors designed to detect dimensional anomalies. The crew moved with silent efficiency, but beneath the calm, tension coiled like a living thing. "Captain," Lyra Voss spoke, her eyes glued to the display. "We're approaching the outermost rift signature. The readings are escalating. I've never seen energy fluctuations this massive, this chaotic." Saris glanced over her shoulder. The stars beyond the rim appeared to warp, bending slightly under some unseen influence. "How many new points?" Lyra tapped the control. "At least 7. They're forming along a wide arc, almost like a chain. If the Empire reaches even one of these before us." She didn't finish the sentence. Saris understood. The galaxy could fall. Rylan Stavos, standing beside Lyra, frowned. "Captain, the fleet. They're nervous. Even seasoned crews are reporting strange readings in the sensors. Shadows moving where there's nothing. Systems glitching inexplicably." Saris nodded. "Good. Let them feel the weight of what we face. They will need it." Fear sharpens focus. The bridge lights dimmed briefly as the first energy pulse from the rift streaked across the sensor array. The hull hummed, shields flaring automatically. The pulse wasn't an attack, it was something else. A ripple, a tremor in the fabric of reality itself. "It's probing us," Lyra said softly. "Testing." Saris's jaw tightened. "Then we show it who we are." The first encounter. The Vanguard emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the rim. Space here was unnatural. Stars flickered like distant candles, distorted by the rift's presence. Dark clouds of energy swirled around impossible forms. And at the center of the largest fluctuation loomed a massive object, a shadow-born armada, dwarfed only by the dark, monolithic structures that surrounded them. "Enemy vessels," Rylan muttered, jaw tight. "And they're already here." Lyra's eyes widened. "It's worse than I thought. They've synchronized with the rift's energy. Look at their shields, almost organic. They're not just ships, they're extensions of the rift itself." Saris leaned over the tactical display. "Deploy interceptors. Engage only on my command. We're not just fighting the Empire, we're stepping into the rim. Everything here is unpredictable." The first strike came without warning. Shadowborn vessels flared to life, firing streams of energy that warped space around them. The Vanguard responded instantly. Pulsed shields flared. Beam weapons fired. Yet the energy from the rift bent the trajectory of shots, nullifying much of the assault. "Captain," Vega shouted. "Our weapons, they're being distorted. We can't hit them reliably." Saris's eyes narrowed. "Adapt. Use trajectory compensation. Follow my mark." The Battle of the Rim. The first wave of the Empire's rift-synced ships crashed against the Vanguard. Explosions lit the warped void. Interceptors darted through distorted space, narrowly dodging tendrils of energy that erupted from the rift itself. From the Aurora Spear, Saris watched as her crew adapted. The human vessels moved unpredictably, using maneuvers the Empire had not anticipated. Humans exploited the distortions instead of resisting them, using the rift's chaos to outmaneuver opponents. Lyra called out urgently, "Captain! There's a second energy pulse. Different. It's forming a structure in space, like a gateway." The bridge erupted in tension. Saris's gaze went cold. "Then we stop them before it opens." She activated the fleet-wide comms. "All ships, focus on disabling the leading rift-synced vessels. They are powering that gateway. Humanity will not wait. Strike now." A massive clash erupted. Beam weapons, missiles, and pulse torpedoes lit the warped battlefield. Shadowborn ships moved with unnatural coordination, their shields bending light and energy, but human ingenuity, unpredictability, and daring maneuvers began to take its toll. Ryland's fingers flew over the console. "Captain, energy spike. Something is emerging from the gateway." The rift shimmered violently. A massive, shadowy figure began to coalesce inside the forming portal. It stretched across space, limbs folding and twisting as though reality itself bent to its will. Lyra swallowed. That is not a ship. That is something alive. Ancient. Far older than the Empire." Saris gritted her teeth. "Then we fight like humans. Focus fire. Hold formation. Do not let it breach the fleet. The human ships surged. Coordination improved. Every human vessel became a blade striking through chaos. The Vanguard's courage shone. The Shadow-born armada faltered. For the first time the enemy retreated under concentrated fire. Yet the figure in the gateway continued to grow, feeding from the rift. Its whispers echoed through subspace, felt in the minds of every human aboard the fleet. You are chosen, voice of the living, anchor, resist. The voice of humanity. The message struck Saris like a hammer. She understood now. The rift, the ancient structure, the whispers, they had chosen humanity not as soldiers but as guardians. The Vanguard's human crews were the only ones capable of standing against this cosmic threat. Fleet, listen. Saris shouted over comms. We are humanity. We fight. We adapt. And we do not yield. Hold the line. Rylan and Lyra exchanged glances, seeing the resolve on the captain's face. Something shifted in the minds of every human aboard the Vanguard. The impossible, the terrifying, the ancient. They faced it not with despair but with determination. Beam weapons burned brighter. Pulse shields flared. The Empire's rift-synced vessels began to falter. One by one the gateway's protective ships were disabled. Yet the ancient shadow inside the rift pulsed, feeding from the chaos. Lyra whispered almost to herself, they are waiting for something, or someone. Saris turned, eyes blazing. Then we will make them wait, for us. The turning point. As the battle raged, the Aurora spear surged forward, leading a daring strike at the rift-synced fleet. Human ingenuity, courage, and unpredictability began to turn the tide. Even against beings and technology far beyond their understanding, the humans found a rhythm, adapting faster than the Empire anticipated, exploiting weaknesses in the rift's influence. The gateway flickered, unstable now as the Empire's vessels fell. But the ancient shadow pulsed, vast and patient, aware that this was only the beginning. Saris knew it too. Humanity had won the first clash, but the rift, the Empire, and whatever lay beyond waited. They had been chosen to anchor the galaxy's defense, and the coming war would be unlike anything in history. She turned to the bridge crew, voice calm but filled with iron resolve. This is only the beginning. The galaxy believes the impossible is impossible. We will prove them wrong. The stars beyond the rim shimmered, whispering secrets older than time. And humanity rose to meet them. The stars streaked past the Aurora spear as it led the human vanguard into the heart of the rim. Saris stood on the bridge, watching the warped, storm-like boundary of space ahead. Energy arcs lanced through darkness. Pulses of unknown power rippled through the void, bending light and space. This is it, Lyra said quietly, scanning the rift's readings. This is where the Empire is trying to establish their gateway. And something else is waiting. Saris clenched her fists. Then we stop them. Not for the Council, not for the galaxy, but for humanity itself. Rylan Stavos muttered from the navigation console, voice tense. Captain, whatever waits beyond that gateway is older than anything we've faced. Far older than the Empire. Are we really ready for this? Saris looked at him, eyes steady. We don't get ready. We adapt. That's what humans do. The rift awakens. The Vanguard emerged into the eye of the rim. The stormy chaos of the rift churned around them, a boiling mass of black energy, streaks of violet lightning, and ghostly forms that bent reality. In the center floated the Empire's fleet, ships merged with rift energy, alive, twisted, horrifying. And behind them, rising from the rift, was the ancient being. A figure massive enough to stretch across multiple light years, its form impossible to comprehend, shifting and flowing like liquid shadow. Its eyes, or what resembled eyes, glowed with cold intelligence. Saris took a deep breath. All ships lock shields. Prepare weapons. And fire only on my mark. Humanity stands. We do not yield. The bridge fell silent. Every human present felt the weight of that sentence. Fear whispered through their minds, but it was met with something stronger, determination. Every human, from the youngest ensign to the most seasoned officer, felt it. Lyra's voice broke the silence. Captain, it's responding to us. The rift, it's aware of our presence. Saris nodded. Then let it know who we are. The battle of the ancient ones. The first salvo from the Vanguard cut through warped space, beams of light tearing toward the Empire's rift-synced ships. The energy twisted unnaturally as it passed, but human ingenuity, calculating adjustments in real time, kept weapons on target. Explosions blossomed across the enemy fleet. The ancient shadow stirred. A wave of pressure washed across the Vanguard, bending shields and rattling the hulls. Whispers echoed through minds, unintelligible yet terrifying. But Saris gritted her teeth. Focus fire. Push forward, she shouted. The vanguard pressed the attack. Ships maneuvered unpredictably, exploiting chaos as a weapon. Humans adapted faster than their foes anticipated. The Empire's fleet faltered under precision strikes combined with reckless ingenuity, a combination no AI or rift-synced logic could counter. Lyra cried out, "The gateway, it's destabilizing. The energy from the rift-synced ships is collapsing." Saris's eyes sharpened. "Then we end this. Push the strike group forward. Target the anchoring vessels. The anchor of humanity." The Aurora spear led the strike, diving into the heart of the rift storm. Lightning arced across the distorted void. Rift-synced ships fired endlessly, yet the vanguard pressed onward. Saris knew the ancient being observed everything, felt every maneuver, every heartbeat of the fleet. And then she understood, the whispers, the visions, the guidance, they weren't just warnings. They were instructions. Humanity had been chosen not just to fight, but to anchor the galaxy. To be the voice and the shield against a threat older than any race could comprehend. Lyra, sync the pulse shields with my command. Every vessel, every weapon, link through me. Lyra's hands flew across controls, activating experimental technology that allowed humans to share energy, timing, and reaction as a single unit. The vanguard became a living weapon, a single mind in many bodies. Ryland's voice cut through, "Captain, the Ancient One, it's aware. Its attention is on us." Saris's gaze didn't waver. "Then we make ourselves worthy of it." Breaking the gateway. The vanguard focused on the Empire's anchoring ships. Beams of combined energy tore through shields. Rift-synced vessels collapsed into void fragments. The gateway flickered violently. The ancient shadow surged, massive limbs folding across space. Its whisper reverberated. "Chosen. Anchor. Voice. Stand. Resist." The words weren't threats. They were commands, directions, warnings, encouragement. Saris felt it in her mind. Humanity could resist the impossible. Humanity could anchor the rift. "Push all power to the frontline vessels," she shouted. "We take the gateway down, no one else can." The vanguard surged. A concentrated wave of energy slammed into the rift-synced fleet. The anchoring vessels collapsed, their energy consumed by the pulse of the human strike. The gateway quaked violently. The ancient being recoiled, sensing resistance for the first time in millennia. Victory and sacrifice. The rift trembled, lightning tearing across the void. Several human ships were lost, their hulls absorbed by collapsing rift energy. Yet the vanguard pressed on, coordinated, fearless. The Aurora spear led the charge, sacrificing itself to destabilize the gateway fully. Lyra shouted, "Captain, we can't hold the synchronization much longer." Saris gritted her teeth. "Then we don't hold, we break it." A final pulse of unified energy surged from every vanguard ship, striking the gateway. The rift screamed, light, shadow, and sound merging into a singular chaos. And then, silence. The gateway collapsed. The Empire's remaining rift-synced vessels spun out of control, disabled or destroyed. The ancient shadow receded, dissolving back into the rift's depths. For a long moment nothing moved. Then the stars of the galaxy appeared again, bright, unbroken. Humanity had anchored the rim. Aftermath. The Aurora spear was badly damaged and many ships of the vanguard lay in ruin. But the surviving fleet regrouped. The Council's delegates, observing from safe orbit, fell silent at the display of human courage and ingenuity. High Chancellor Varella's voice echoed through the fleet's comms. "Captain Saris, humanity has proven itself. The vanguard has anchored the galaxy. You have earned the respect of all Council species." Saris allowed herself a small nod, exhaustion and relief mingling. This was only the beginning. The Empire will regroup. The rift may awaken again. But humanity has proven, we are not to be underestimated. Ryland stepped beside her. "Captain, we did it. We actually did it." Saris looked out at the stars beyond the rim, dark and mysterious but no longer threatening. "Yes, but the galaxy is counting on us. We are the anchor. And we will not fail." Lyra's voice was quiet, filled with awe. "The ancient beings, they chose humanity. They've trusted us with something older than time itself." Saris's gaze hardened, determination shining through fatigue. "Then we live up to that trust. Humanity will not falter. Humanity will protect the galaxy. And the rim will never rise again." Epilogue. Humanity's place. The human vanguard rebuilt, the Council strengthened, and the Empire forced to retreat. Humanity's role as guardian of the galaxy was solidified. Stories of the vanguard spread among the stars, inspiring awe and respect across civilizations. And somewhere beyond the rim, the rift shimmered quietly, ancient and waiting, but anchored by the indomitable will of humanity. The galaxy had survived the impossible. Humanity had risen.